Hey, what's up? I wanted to have a little chat with myself and anybody else that wants to listen about a topic that is right now coming up really fresh for me, and that is forgiveness. I know that it is kind of tossed around and talked about in a lot of circles um, as being extremely important for personal growth and for good reason. Um, but, it's like with any of these uh, states, until we experience it, really doesn't mean anything. And that's not to say that I haven't experienced forgiveness before, but made, I just recently forgave someone and told them without them asking that I forgave them. And it created a pretty interesting situation that allowed me to get deeper into the feeling, the experience. And then after this kind of engagement, there were some interesting occurrences that kind of organically happened. And I'm not going to get too deep into the concept of this kind of holographic nature of life, that the law of attraction and all those various laws. But it is interesting to note synchronicities and when I don't know the unexpected arrives. So here's what happened. I was wronged by someone. Well, let's go back further. I wronged someone. I did someone wrong, and I acknowledged that. I admitted it. Went into the full depths of what I did, and really owned my behavior, owned my actions. I can say that sincerely, that I completely owned my actions. And then this person kind of retaliated. They said that they were holding me accountable, but it was really a retaliation, which isn't accountability. It is vengeance, if you will. Um, and that retaliation and vengeance had some massive and far reaching impact on my life and my self esteem and my other, other relationships. It was not a small thing. Um, and it took me quite a while to be able to come to a place of compassion and forgiveness for the actions on this person's part. And I was listening to some pretty powerful motivational stuff by my new guy, Gary Vee. Again, if you don't know him, check him out. He's a big part of why I'm getting up the courage to do these little videos. Um, so I reached out to this individual without without their request or they didn't initiate contact, and just said, "Hey, look, I just want you to know I forgive you. I forgive you for what you did, and even if you tell me to fuck off and die, I'm gonna forgive you still." And they did respond, and they responded basically with "fuck off and die," um, a much longer version of that, but in brief. And I noticed that I had the opportunity to either go deeper into forgiveness or to kind of go back into defense mode. Um, and I did like lay out some facts and just said like, okay, these are my actions that I took responsibility for. These were your reactions, um, and if you are willing to take responsibility for them, then great. If not, then that's also great. We're all just kind of doing what we're doing at the right time, and I have compassion and forgiveness for you in either case. And that's actually the truth. I really do. And Courtney kind of expressed how she didn't really understand how I could do that, how it was um, such a high impact thing that um, she thought maybe it wasn't quite deserving of forgiveness yet. I don't agree. I don't agree. I think the more I think on this and the more I reflect on it, the more we should just forgive immediately, even before it happens. when we are encountering new people and we're forming new relationships or we're working on old relationships, we should know that those people are just people, that they're going to do what they're going to do. We are going to do what people do, and people fuck up. We make mistakes. We hurt each other, sometimes willingly, sometimes not. And we have to be able to forgive that. And we also have to be able to forgive ourselves before we make mistakes. And interestingly enough, that seems to be a way that we prevent ourselves from making mistakes. And we disarm, what may be coming out of another person. Okay, I'm reminded of the Tao Te Ching and the greatest warrior never draws a sword kind of thing. Um, in this, with this weapon of forgiveness, of compassion, then we never have to take up arms in battle. We can just love, and we can just be, and we can allow. And if we're playing the long game, like we are, whether we know it or not, we're all playing the long game. And I'm not just referring to this life here, the long game of eternity. We are playing that game. And if we want to win that game, then, not going for the short wins is the long win. So anyway, had this exchange happen. This person said that they forgave me, but they had all this kind of like obviously not forgiving because there was so much aggressive blame talk coming without any acceptance for the reality of their vengeful actions, their reactive actions. And that's okay. And so we went out to dinner last night with Courtney's parents, and we sat down at the table with kids, and it's pretty tough. For those of you who have children and go out to dinner, it is sometimes not enjoyable at all, which if we can take into this event the forgiveness before the kids start doing their stuff, then it makes it somewhat more enjoyable. But anyway, we go in and we sit in this big room. They put us in this big room by ourselves, the party room. I guess that's where they put the parties, the loud, big groups. And we go in and sit down. It's just us, and it's nice. And then this other table comes in of about 8 or 10 people, and they're pretty rambunctious, older, ranging from, I don't know, probably look like, early 40s up to upper 60s type thing. And they sat down and said, oh, we're sorry, but we're going to be kind of loud. And I was just like, dude, look, we got these kids, like, it's fucking game on here. You can hear the kids in the background, right? I for a long time, I put off doing videos because I thought I got to find a way to do it without the kids. And that's just not going to, that's just not going to happen. So maybe there's some parents out there that can appreciate the kids in the background. And as we were at the table and they're talking, first thing, the oldest lady at the table looks over and says, well, if y'all are like that, then why don't I just ask you a question? What do you think about aliens? Like, fucking off the bat, right? What do you think about aliens? And I'm game on, right? I said, well, not only have I had a couple of experiences myself, but the Pentagon released papers acknowledging the recovery of off-world vehicles about 2 years ago. And, as a psychedelic minister, I've got to be open to just about anything. And the older lady at the table was like, what? You're a what? And I was like, yeah, psilocybin mushrooms, this is what we do. It's what I have done. And she's like, oh, I've read some of the research. I've heard about this and da-da-da-da-da. And that was kind of it. And so we got our dinner and we're having a really nice conversation about the, I won't get into that. Maybe too controversial for right now. So anyway, we having our dinner, and maybe 15, 20 minutes later, one of the other ladies from the table hollers across and says, oh my God, you weren't joking. I just looked you up. I just looked you up and you saw you're real, you're legitimate. And I said, yeah, of course. And so yeah, we've done these retreats in Jamaica for a long time, and I've done a lot of work with sacred mushrooms and helped a lot of people and been helped by them in so many ways. And they were like, some of the people were like, oh yeah, I've seen the research, and then some of the people were like, oh, this is crazy, y'all are crazy, aliens and psychedelics, of course. Yeah. And maybe 10 minutes later, the lady who had looked us up online came over, and this is the first time this has ever happened to me, and it was really nice actually, by allowance to be so. I'm sitting there with my almost 19-year-old son, who has thought I was crazy for a very long time and is only just now starting to appreciate me, I think, and even express that. He's really expressed how he appreciates how I just don't give up, follow my dreams, keep on pushing, no matter what they are. And he's sitting there with me the first time we've been together in a long time. And one of the ladies comes over to the table and asks if she can take a picture with me. And again, I've never had this happen. It's like it's not a big deal. It's not, and even if it did happen, if I was in the airport and people saw me and wanted to take a picture with me, it would be humbling. I think it would still continue to be this kind of like, oh wow, that's sweet. Like people are impacted, you know, by me just being me. And so I took the picture there at the table, and she goes back, and as they're leaving, the oldest lady at the table comes over again another 10 or 15 minutes later and gives me a big hug, just a big hug. And she's like got such a sweet vibe. I hope to connect with her on Facebook. And she was just like, sweetie, you just keep doing you. You just keep doing you. You're doing great work. And I'm just I'm proud of you, and you just keep doing you. And my son, my 19-year-old son, after she left, he leaned over and said, I'm proud of you too, Dad. And there's a couple things there. While it may not immediately seem to connect to this conversation that I had around forgiveness, it does, at least in my experience, because so much of what has held me back has been me not forgiving me for being me. If that makes sense, try to hang with me here. I've had a very long period in my life where I have wished that I would be different, that I've wanted myself to be somebody else, even though I couldn't be. And I've tried to be other people, but I can't be anything but me. And it's like every time I try to, I just keep that thing that's inside of me that makes me me just keeps pushing me back in the other way. And I have resisted it, and I've resented it, and I have not let go of that. And I find now that when I let go, and I really let go of forgave and let go of any type of barrier or resistance or resentment towards this person who had retaliated on me, that I was able to feel that more deeply for myself. I was able to let go more of this resentment and resistance for myself, and forgive and love and accept and be myself. And as we were leaving the restaurant, I told my son, if there's any lesson that comes out of him being there and seeing all that exchange, I don't want it to be that his dad is this or that. I don't want him to be thinking in terms of it's about me, because it's about him. And it's about him and all us being who we are, and really loving that, and not resenting and being fearful of it. That's what this like the lack of forgiveness is, the presence of fear, right? And we're always mirroring ourselves out into the world. So the more we can forgive each other, the more we can forgive ourselves, the more we can allow others to be themselves, however they are, however they show up. And this acquaintance that is not forgiving me, I'm allowing that person to show up just as they are, and that's allowing me to show up more as I am, and that's opening doors for the universe, creation, to say to me, good job, you're doing good. I love you being you. And I love you being you, whatever that is. So thanks for being here. Just a little short encouragement to myself and to you as I get ready to hop on our Sunday Zoom service for Sanctuary. These conversations are incredible. There's a growing group of people, wonderful, wonderful spirits, thoughts, ideas, conversations that happen. Maybe I'll see you there.